We should be live. If you are watching this on YouTube, this is a quick disclaimer that we have a flight attendant who's going to come on and talk about this ruling and actually a mask protest that is planned for today, but I'm not sure if it's I don't know how that's been affected by this judge's ruling, so we're going to ask this flight attendant about that in a second. But I want to give you a heads up if you're watching this on YouTube that we are going to continue it live on ROKFIN after about the first 10 minutes because we just can't really talk a lot about masks or basically anything else related to COVID that's anathema to the establishment. So if you want to hear all that this flight attendant has to say and you want to hear the nitty gritty about what's going on, you're going to have to watch live on ROKFIN or go to my other channels, other platforms to watch this later if you're not watching it live. I have a couple quick things to say, one pertaining to this particular video, but another press release just came out about a pilot having a heart attack post-vaccination in the cockpit 6 minutes after landing. This is news that just came out from the U.S. Freedom Flyers, and I'm going to show you that press release in a second. But this is the news that's breaking right now about the federal judge strikes down CDC mask mandate in airports, other transport hubs. And according to the New York Post, a federal judge in Florida ordered the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to lift its mask mandate for airports, planes, and other forms of travel Monday, saying the agency had overstepped its authority. This district judge, an appointee of President Donald Trump, ruled that the CDC neither properly explained its decision to impose the mandate nor followed proper rulemaking procedures. Because our system does not permit agencies to act unlawfully, even in the pursuit of desirable ends, the court declares unlawful and vacates the mask mandate. Now, over on my locals, where you should be if you're not, AllisonMorrow.locals.com, I just posted the press release from the U.S. Freedom Flyers about this pilot, an American Airlines pilot. And as you can see here, it says that American Airlines pilot Robert Snow has experienced a severe post-vaccination cardiac arrest inside the cockpit of Airbus 321 carrying 200 souls, and the event took place 6 minutes after landing. I'm not going to read you the rest because I'm on YouTube, and we all know how YouTube feels about that. But if you go over to AllisonMorrow.locals.com, you can put in questions for Josh Yoder, who is the president of the U.S. Freedom Flyers. He's going to be on tomorrow to answer questions, so just heads up on that one. So as for the stream, again, just a quick reminder to everybody, we're talking about a lot of stuff that YouTube does not like, and I'm already on like my 600th suspension at this point, so I'm very close to being kicked off, and I would like to maintain some kind of presence, or at least I would like it to be my decision. You know, I want to break up with YouTube. I don't feel like letting them have the control. So on that note, I'm going to bring in Hannah, but I just want you guys to know, again, that we're live on ROKFIN right now, too. If you want to watch everything that we're talking about, you're going to have to go over there because we're going to kill this stream in a few minutes. Hannah, thanks for doing this. You are an Atlanta-based flight attendant.
I am.
Okay, now you all had a mask protest planned for today, right? And then this ruling comes out. I'm guessing that was just a coincidence.
From what I can see, yes. I actually saw that post later. I think it was around 1:30, 2 o'clock. And I saw CNN's, and it was posted, I believe it was 10:22 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. I know we had a lot of communication with a lot of news outlets, a lot of conservative and unconservative people, like on Instagram, people who had a high following, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So we had a flyer coming out. It was no mask compliance. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was no mask compliance, April 18th. We had a lot of communication buzz ever since it got extended last week. I forget the day. Mm-hmm. So I know there was a lot of buzz. There was a lot of talk. It could just be a coincidence. It could have been something coming down the pipeline. I don't know.
I saw that the original order expired today. But like you said, there had been that extension. All right. So tell me first, before we get into more about this ruling with the judge and what that means for you guys, what were you planning, or what is happening today? I guess tell me about the protest.
Yeah. So is more of just flight attendants, pilots, ramp personnel, gate agents, all of us saying we're done. we're done with the government telling us what we should and shouldn't do with our personal health. And from a flight attendant standpoint, we were tired of not smelling smoke in the cabin. We were tired of being unable to determine the passengers we're bringing on board, people not feeling well. Without masks, you can read a lot just on somebody's face. And for me, getting people on the aircraft, getting an hour into flight, they're eating, you're realizing, oh my gosh, this person looks like they're sick. This person looks like they're going through something. You find out, oh, they don't have medication they need. They don't have this or that they need. They're going through something. We've got, air travel is one of the ways that you have all of the sex trafficking, all of that stuff going on. With the masks, we're not able to do any of our job description when it comes to the safety of the passengers and the flight attendants. So for me, this was the biggest thing I think a lot of us hold, and the same opinion is just we're not able to safely do our job. And for a passenger, that should make you very, very fearful, because people are scared of flying in general. And then to know that your flight attendants don't feel safe with the mask, that should be a whole nother level. So
those are a couple of things I had not heard before.
mm-hmm.
Do you think that that's been something that has been widely talked about among flight attendants and pilots? It just doesn't make it into the news because, I don't know, the news doesn't want to share that other side of it, or I'm just curious because that's just not information that I've seen. Have you seen it elsewhere? Maybe I've missed it, or is that just something you feel like maybe the powers that be don't want other people to know about your concerns?
Yeah, these are things that have actually personally happened to me. And these are things that probably won't make it to the mainstream media. But I can tell you, when flying came back, and this is from a personal experience, and if I can share this, but when flying came back, I want to say the end of 2020, close to like Christmas, when air travel started picking back up, and people started flying, they started having a little more faith, and okay, the masks, okay, the air filtration, they started being comfortable. I had maybe 3 medicals in my entire career. I've been flying for 5 years. And in 2020, I had maybe 3 medicals. Most of them were heart. One of them was heart, and then the other 2, I don't remember. But the amount of people with anxiety, unable to breathe in the cabin, just cannot catch their breath, then it causes them to freak out. They pass out. I probably dealt with 75 different medicals between when people started flying in the end of 2020 till the middle of 2021. And that is huge. That is report after report that I have to fill out, and then things that I have to deal with now at work that I never saw. Nobody ever saw this.
All right, we are definitely walking the line here as
okay,
John
all right.
would say. No, that's okay. That's okay. So just a reminder, everybody,
Yes.
we're gonna eventually in the very near future go just on ROKFIN. So the thing is, like what we were talking about before we started, it's very hard to know what YouTube will or will not allow when it comes to any of this stuff, because there are other channels that have 1 million subscribers that would be totally fine having you say something like that, or talking about vaccine side effects or anything like that. But smaller channels, we don't have the kind of complaining power. So okay, so that's very interesting. I'm going to ask you more about that in a second when we're not on YouTube anymore. Tell me this too. Would you say that the majority, or is it half and half, people that you run into circle wise? Because I've you listen to The View, those ladies are probably going to be in an uproar over this judge voiding the mandate, because they want to wear masks to bed, in their own homes, basically. So I'm just curious, like, how many flight attendants agree with you in your experience you come across, or how many, really like the mask, and how many are going to get very upset if they have to be around lots of passengers with no masks on, or other flight attendants with no masks? I can't imagine this is everybody who agrees with you.
It's funny that you bring up The View, because I saw what they said a couple of days ago about the super spreaders, and I was just like, I want to say for the majority of my trips, and the days I go to work, about 50% of flight attendants. I want to say, on average, 100% of the pilots. It is very rare that I fly with a set of pilots and both of them, or even one of them, is enforcing masks. So I want to say flight attendant wise, it's 50 and over that do not agree with the masks. And then pilots, it's very rare I fly with any that do.
Well, so I was curious too, because I heard pilots would just take their mask off in the cockpit anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
You're like, yes.
They're eating. They're eating the whole time.
No hands, Mom. I eat my little cheese board, my Delta in-flight cheese board. No hands. Flying an airplane. Okay, so according to this article, basically, it says that it was filed by. Sorry, I had it up, but then I made the screen bigger. It said it was. Oh yeah. Filed by the nonprofit Health Freedom Defense Fund on behalf of two women who claim that wearing masks on airplanes triggered or exacerbated anxiety and panic attacks. That kind of confirms what you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot. Is this the lawsuit, or is this, because there's a bunch of stuff going on. I'm not aware of everything, but yeah, that's pretty much what people are experiencing.
Mm-hmm. I know we can't go into great detail about this really, but I could just express probably my curiosity, maybe not necessarily condemnation, but just curiosity about the whole eating thing and drinking thing and having your mask off do you guys ever sit back and go, is it, you know what I mean? Like, what, does this matter? I don't know. I mean, is that curious to you? Like, if flight attendants is curious, it is to me that it's like, you take it off, you put it on, you take it off, you put it on, you're sitting right next to people. It's like, if you're, I don't know. I just always have thought that part is kind of weird.
Yeah. I think most of us, we do not see it. And it's just how it has to be, because we've gotten to the point where we inform, and he's eating, she's eating, they're drinking. I've had taught like little tiny babies, and it has been really hard to watch how people can treat, even because it's 0 to 2, and even watching people, how they treat any child. If a parent says it's 2, okay, well then it's 2. And so the gray line there, I don't know, but it breaks my heart to see that, and older people, to see just how they're treated on the aircraft, in the concourse. And really, it breaks my heart.
I was going to ask about kids, like if you had any stories about young kids, like 2.5 or something. Like it really freaks me out, because I have a kid that's almost 2. She'll probably be 23 months for the next 5 years.
Exactly. No, it's like the Shirley Temple movie. I don't know if you watched Shirley Temple, but she was trying to get into the fair, and she had to be 5 years old, and she was 10. And I always remembered that the guy's like, shrink, and he made her go down. She's like, I'm 5. Or whatever it was. But that's what people are going to, that's what you're forcing parents to do now. You're forcing people to, now I have to kind of gray the line, because I want my child to be safe. But yeah, I had one instance where it was really bad, because typically I'm very non-confrontational. I typically don't have any problems. I have built a really good rapport with the pilots that I fly with, so I know that if anything goes down, that they have my back. And I did have one time where I had a fellow coworker complaining about a little boy, and he could barely form words. All he could say was, "Mommy, it hurts," because she was putting a mask on him. And I went up to the front, I told the captain, and I was like, "Hey, this is the action I'm going to do." He goes, "I agree." And I walked back, and I handed her a bunch of goldfish and water, and I said, "Enjoy your water and snacks." And then I had a conversation with the coworker that was not being just understanding. And we had a conversation. I said, if there is a problem and if you continue to have a problem, then you can come talk to me and you can come talk to the captain, but you're not allowed to talk to that passenger. And that's what I told her. These children, they don't have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a voice. So
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff, like the videos I've seen of kids that age dealing with it, it really does make you wonder. Okay. In a second, I I want to ask you about what you think about this ruling. Is this or also about, have you gotten any stories as people are participating in the protest today? Have you heard from anybody who's gotten booted off or anything like that? What have been ramifications? But first, something that Hannah knows all about is drinking and eating, because we just talked about that. People taking their masks down in order to do so. Now, you can't bring your own bottle of wine on an airplane unless it's in your suitcase, which I highly recommend doing, because you know what? The worst thing is going on a great vacation and having a terrible glass of wine when you get there. So you should go to AllisonWinePromo.com and get 50% off some amazing high altitude Malbecs from Argentina, and 50% off shipping. You can support my channel and my work, because this video will probably get me booted off YouTube. And my sponsors are one of the main ways that I can keep going on other platforms. So go to AllisonWinePromo.com, get the wine from the oldest vineyard in Argentina, one from almost 9,000 feet. It's an extreme altitude Malbec, and one that uses natural fermentation. Or you can go to TwinEngineCoffee.com/Allison, TwinEngineCoffee.com/Allison, and get some coffee or tea. These are high altitude Nicaraguan roasts. Now they have this black edition tea, which is processed with honey. It's very good. I just got a sample in the mail, and it's a very dark roast, but very sweet, actually. Like, not so sweet like you're eating honey, but just doesn't have a bitter coffee aftertaste. You can also get a Caturra tea, which is great. It's tea made from the coffee fruit that goes around the beans. I cold brew mine for 24 hours. This is all USDA certified organic. And like I said, it's all high altitude. So thanks for going. Oh, and I forgot to put this up, TwinEngineCoffee.com/Allison. So check out my sponsors, and you can bring coffee in your carry-on. I mean, not with the water in it, probably, because you can't go through security, but you can totally bring the beans on. Okay, so Hannah, let's talk first about people who have been participating in your not your, but this is associated with the U.S. Freedom Flyers, if I'm correct, right? So in this protest that was planned for today, have you gotten any stories from people like flight attendants or passengers or pilots who have done it and have had any consequences? I kind of wonder if this judge's ruling has any effect on that.
So it's funny that you say that, because all day today I have been scrolling through my phone, getting messages from hundreds, I want to say hundreds of flight attendants participating, and pilots. I do know of just a few, there's a few stories where people, I don't want to say the word on here, the word that we use to describe people who enforce masks, but there was one story where the captain said, you will be wearing your mask, you will be doing this. And the flight attendant, it was literally right after we started seeing that post about the Supreme Court. Was it Supreme Court, right? That ruled that took threw out the mask mandate? Was that the Supreme Court?
Just now? No, yeah. This was a federal judge.
Federal. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So,
but it may go to the Supreme Court eventually if people keep arguing about it.
Yeah, which they need to. But right after this ruling, the flight attendant, she told the captain, she goes, "Oh, well, look at this." She showed him the article. He goes, "Doesn't matter. I'm going to enforce it anyway." She said, "No." She said, "Yeah." So that's the one story that I've heard that's that extreme, but she said they continue to still not wear their masks. And
they didn't get booted off or anything?
No, they can't.
Interesting.
They can't. They need flight attendants. They're short pilots. They're short flight attendants.
Right. Yeah, let's talk about that, because there have been a lot of flight delays that I've seen make the news, and I've heard from pilots that just tip me off to it that it has a lot to do with shortages. And I know that some of that preceded COVID and COVID regulations, but I know that hasn't helped. So tell me a little bit about what it's like behind the scenes. Like, are you booked on overtime a lot? How desperate are they for flight attendants and pilots? What are some of the things you're offered in order to, keep working? I'm just curious.
Flight attendants from what I hear through all of the different airlines, flight attendants definitely okay, this is my personal opinion from what I experienced. I feel flight attendants get a little more dirt and like crap than the pilots do. I feel also that the pilots have a little bigger say in things, which is nice because for stuff like this that's going on, the pilots really, if they say we're not doing this, then the airlines are like, oh, we don't have any pilots. Kind of what you saw several months ago when we had the weather. I don't know if you remember that, but the weather was there was no pilots. The pilots refused to go to work because there was a couple airlines that, due to flight attendants not cooperating with certain guidelines, they said, we don't have flight attendants. And the pilot said, well, you're not going to have pilots. So I do want to say right now, we are still short. I actually I got like through the ringer. Like it was horrible. And because we were short flight attendants and it's tiring and it's exhausting because I feel like it's just going to keep happening over and over and over again. And a lot of it, I mean, some of it is weather, but majority of it is lack of flight attendants, not enough employees, not enough pilots.
All right. Anything else you want to say for YouTube before we switch over?
They should definitely switch over because I feel like we're gonna get down in the nitty gritty.
We are going to get to it. Yes. And I do want to say too
Mhm.
that one of the things we're going to talk about when we go over there is this press release that came out. Like I said, we're going to cover this extensively tomorrow with Josh Yoder, who's the president of US Freedom Flyers. But I know you have some thoughts on this too. And hopefully you can read the screen if you're watching
Mhm.
this on YouTube, because I almost don't want to say it again. But let's just say that they're saying an American Airlines pilot last week had a heart attack in the cockpit 6 minutes after landing, and that it happened after the Fauci ouchie. Just leave it at that. Okay, so we're going to talk about that next over on ROKFIN. It's been nice seeing you guys on YouTube. I hope you'll switch over and we'll see you there. And bye.